Ahoy, ladies and gents, welcome to the show. It's the BBC Spews live, and it's what? The 25th of May. Nice one. Good news. I'm not going to have to cover the school shooting because I've already done it. So, yeah, winner. Suffice it to say, I suppose I could point you at my Twitter because there was some shenanigans going on Twitter yesterday. Let me just do that. Oh yeah, I haven't done the meet and greet. Who cares? So this Min Jin Lee, obviously communist. As soon as, again, we're living in crazy times. As soon as you see what they've typed, before you click on them, you know what the politics are, don't you? Because this is the world we're living in, which is also amusing because these people aren't rational or logical. As soon as I started arguing with them, they're all saying, "Oh yeah, why are you against abortion then?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Fucking weirdos." Like I've said many times, because these people live in a fucking crazy world. They think everybody's as uniform in the beliefs as they are, and they just pick positions that you don't hold, didn't tell them you held, to try and argue with. And I was like, I don't give a fuck about abortion. Yeah, I'm pro-abortion until the little bastard moves out. If you're still paying for the little twat's Xbox and feeding him, I think you should be able to drown them in the bath until they fucking leave and get their own apartment. I'm pro teenage abortion, so you don't know what you're talking about, fella. But we've got a cold or hay fever. I don't get hay fever. At least I don't think I do, unless it's American pollen. Got a cold. Nice to hear the mucus is thickening. Why is that nice? It just makes me sound like I've got a very deep voice. Yeah, look at this, right? So this is the tweet that got me dozens of enraged responses. It says, "Our bodies are not designed to absorb and process this much violence, loss, and grief." Right? Now, ignoring the fact that she sounds like a theist, i.e. we got designed by God, which, again, these people can do that, can't they? Because they can simultaneously believe two mutually exclusive things at once, polar opposites. They can do that because they're woke. But the rest of us, we're forced to worry about logic, aren't we? Another American word. See, I told you this. English people are ridiculous. Like, every time I go home, I get accused of talking different, even though I'm pretty certain I don't. Certainly none of my wife's family tell me I do. And second of all, they whinge when you use a Britishism. But as I've told you fuckers many times, when you've lived here for 8 years, you do start doing it because you're sick of repeating yourself. You'd proper get annoyed. Like when someone says what and they didn't hear you and you repeat yourself. And they go what? And then you repeat yourself. If they didn't get it the second time, you get pissed off, don't you? And then when you say what and they say it again, you go, yeah, even if you didn't hear them. If you constantly use all the Britishisms, you get annoyed because you repeat yourself all the time. Shove it in the bin was one that I first noticed when I worked out here. I'd been here for about a year. I was like, shove it in the bin, mate. And the bloke was like, what? I went, shove it in the bin. And he was like, I went, that, put it in the bin. And he still went. Like, they didn't even know the word bin. So then I'm like, put it in the fucking trash, man. So slowly you do start to use different words. Flat, apartment, yeah, it happens. Again, only the English get chippy about it. It doesn't mean, therefore, I'm trying to be fucking Elon Musk. Like, ooh, he said the word apartment. What a pretentious wanker. It's just to make your life easier. Although I have met people who, it must be an individual thing, and maybe if you're strong-willed or not. I have met people who, I remember being on a plane once, chatting to a bird who sat next to me, and she proper talking weird. She sounded like a Kiwi, but with like a sort of strange inflection on some words. And I said, "Are you from like New Zealand, but you spent a lot of time in England or something?" And she said, "Oh no, I'm from England, but I moved to New Zealand like 6 years ago or something." It's fucking weird. And me and my missus met a lass out in Alabama who proper sounded American. And she said, "Oh, I'm from Scotland." And I was like, "Oh, you mean your parents are from Scotland?" She was like, "Oh, no, I'm from Scotland." I was like, "Well, when did you move out here?" And she was like, "Oh, 5 years ago." I was like, some people are just weird. some people within a couple of years sound 100% the same as the natives, which is fucking strange. And then when I was a young lad, I went out with a Korean bird who sounded quite American. And then she went backpacking for a year. And then she called me once from Ireland because, I mean, you know what they're like. They just assume we all live within 10 minutes of each other. And she'd been hanging out with all these Irish surfer birds. And I picked the phone up after not talking to her for like a year. I was like, hello? And she was like, oh, hello there, fella. Ahoy. I was like, what the fuck? You've spent 8 months hanging out with Irish surfer chicks and now you sound like a fucking leprechaun. Like, some people are just weird. So me, I don't think I've had that much of a unique transformation in the 8 years I've been here, but I'll continue to get jibes about it when I occasionally call something an apartment or a fucking trash can. Yeah, bin liners. No one understands that either. Gary's a bin liner. What? A bin? How the fuck do you not know what a bin is? Head like a wheelie bin. Imagine if you said that to a bird out here. Might think you were complimenting them. He said, I got a head like a wheelie bin. No, that means your fucking head weighs 10 stone, you silly fat cunt. Anyway, let's have that's enough ranting. Let me just talk about this. So I've talked in the past before how when you've got my personality type, you upset and offend people inadvertently. Because if you check out the Myers-Briggs personality test for an ENTP person, the people like me, your logic rules everything, right? And when people say things to you that are totally illogical, you have to say, yeah, well, that doesn't make sense, even if it's a deeply held personal belief. So even if you try not to be a prick, you come across as sounding like a prick. And this was a good example because this chick put, our bodies are not designed to absorb and process this much violence, loss, and grief. And I just thought, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Like, read the fucking history of humanity. This is why I'm not a communist. Because I like history. And you read about our lives, basically, for hundreds of thousands of years, for almost the entire evolution of Homo sapiens, right? We used to live short, miserable lives, drop dead at about 27. 50% of women used to die in childbirth. Your teeth would kill you before you got to 30. Like, the lives we lived were absolutely horrific. And this is why I always argue with the commies and say, oh, yeah. They're like, oh, yeah, man, it's never been worse. It's like, never read a book then. Never. Even in relatively recent history, you read something like The Road to Wigan Pier, and you read about these northern coal miners, which is another argument I always have with daft Mackhams and Geordies when they're whinging. Ooh, Thatcher closed the coal mines. It was the worst fucking job imaginable. You used to have to crawl. In some cases, you have to crawl half a mile to the coal face on your hands and knees in pitch black like you're in hell. And then when you get there, you realise you haven't been paid for the fucking crawling. And you've got to do a 12-hour shift like a fucking dwarf from Lord of the Rings. And yet you get people now who think that working in a factory 37 hours a week is like the worst thing ever. Like, if you know anything about the human story, you know that the way we live now is the best we've ever had it. Someone who lives in a shitty one-bedroom flat on benefits, eating Chicago town pizzas and watching his flat screen TV has got a better quality of life than the fucking King of England did 100 years ago. Because you've got like washing machines and fucking kettles and tellies. And even if you're in a council estate, you've got a telly, and you've got a kettle, and you've got a washing machine, you've got a fucking memory foam mattress, and you've got Nike Air fucking Max and Chicago town pizzas and Benton and Edges and fucking Stella and a fridge. It's like these people are complete morons. So obviously I responded to Min Jin fucking twat fuck with speak for yourself. Stoicism is still a thing for those not on the left. And with that in mind, if you want my goods, come and fucking take them. Because I'm keeping them, thanks. And then look at the rage. It's like, in translation, Grah, okay. Just wondering what guns are people coming for. That's funny, yeah? Like he hasn't been paying attention to the world for the last 10 years, eh? All right, tough guy. Yeah, well, I'm sure I'd bend you in half, son. What else did I get? And yet removing a clump of cells gets you all up in the feelings. No, it doesn't. Doesn't, mate. Doesn't. Don't care. Because I'm not an ideologue like you. No, don't give a fuck. I don't care about wanking blokes off either. It doesn't bother me. Again, I'm the only one being consistent here, Anna, because the reason I'm pro Second Amendment is because I think everybody should be allowed to have agency over their own actions. So I think if you can say what you want, you can own a gun. You shouldn't have your right to own a gun infringed by the actions of a perfect fucking stranger who lives 1,000 miles away from you. So therefore, I'm logically consistent. These lunatics are like, you should be free to get an abortion. Your body, your choice. Oh yeah, but also you can't tell me that you're not having an injection that you don't like. Oh yeah, but also it's just constant gobbledygook. Like I said, mutually opposing opinions, bashing up against themselves, and they don't care. Oh yeah, man's definitely a woman, a woman's definitely a man. Oh, unless talking about abortion, then no, you shut the fuck up, man. I can do it all week. The amount of stupid shit these people fundamentally, basically contradict themselves. And that's another one. A, I don't care about a clump of cells. And B, you're not being logically consistent, because I'm saying, yeah, you can get an abortion if you want one. You can suck a bloke off if you want. But I'm also allowed to have a gun if I want one. You're the fucking moron who doesn't see the glaring hypocrisy and contradiction of your own fucking... They'll contradict themselves. This is what I keep saying. I don't even have to be clever or witty. They contradict themselves. You just have to let them talk. So he's a fucking moron. Who else have we got? Why is this your response to a statement made about children who've died at the hands of gun violence? Because it's linked inexorably to, we'll take all your guns. That's why. This is sickening. Don't care. Nomberto, if you're constantly signaling your virtue on social media, I think you're a sex offender. Right? That basically is as simple as I can put it. I say things that are logical. And if you take the time to respond with shrieking outrage, I think you're doing it because you're a bad person. And sending a tweet is a dead simple 5-second way of making yourself seem like a good person. I mean, that's as simplistically as I can put it. I don't believe that Nomberto Lamenga isn't a fucking sex pest. Because seriously, I think a normal person will see what I say and just go, don't care. A normal left-wing person who disagrees with me will go, he's a bit of a dickhead, and get on with their life. But if you take the time to write, this is sickening, I think you've took the time to write that because you're a fucking sexual deviant and you've got a fucking collection of heads in your fridge. I think you've got a young girl chained to your fucking bathroom floor. How about that, Nomberto? Somehow I get the feeling you'd be useless in a fist fight. Professional drama queen. Yeah. Yeah, who plays video games all day. Yeah, I'm sure you'd fill me in, love. You stoic, highly unbelievable. I'm not the one crying on the internet, dickhead. You think the left doesn't have guns. You also think the left are the Democrats. Oh, I think that some of them have them, but they are outnumbered. And secondly, I also think you can't shoot them fucking straight. That's what I think. Anyway, so it's class this, isn't it? You're mentally ill, blah, blah. Oh, my God. Why do you love it? Why do you hate abortions then? Dud. This total. So it's just bollocks. It goes on all day. I love it. It gets me erect. Bring the hatred on, my commie friends. I fucking love it. You know why? Because stoicism is still a thing for those not of the left. Death threats, don't care. Doesn't touch me. Minjin, because she's a commie and she likes to pose for shit photos alongside the fucking Kamala IQ of a pull-along Duck Harris. She thinks the human body's not designed to cope with grief. Those of us that pay attention in science class are well aware that we are, because the human story is one of endless suffering and misery. And if you were born in the last 40 years, you don't know the fucking meaning of the word misery. So suck it. Suck it, Minji. Minji, you can suck my big male Minji. There you go, done. Anyway, so that's funny, isn't it? I don't want to talk about this, the gun thing. All I'll say briefly is, because I didn't cover it in the video I made yesterday, which obviously covers the gun thing that I don't care about. There are dozens of reasons you can give for why there's no point in going down the taking all the guns route. But I'm going to just point you at this one because I think it'll make my point easily. So there's basically over 400 million guns in the United States. Now, if you don't know, the United States population is only about 330 million, probably 340, all the fucking illegal immigrants. But basically, there's more guns in America than people. So the reason sensible Democrats like Tulsi Gabbard have said things like, the ship's already sailed, there's no point in worrying about getting rid of all the people's guns, is because of this simple, glaring fact. You can't take people's guns. It's physically impossible. There's 400 million guns and over 393 million in civilian hands. 393 million. So if you try to do it, some sort of seizing people's firearms, all you'd get is, you'd probably get a couple of million people who would be hardcore, Sadwing style Republican gun owners who would fully be willing to fucking die for it. So it's impossible. What you're going to do, send the police around people's houses and physically take the guns off them. That's going to end up in a whole lot of dead civilians and dead police officers. Literally tens of thousands of them. So there's that. Secondly, you might succeed in, after all that, getting a few 100 million guns, but there's still going to be hundreds of millions of guns in circulation. And then you're just going to have all the criminal elements with all the guns. The idea that you can just take firearms off people is lunacy, and it's physically impossible. It's physically impossible. There's more guns in fucking America than rats. What are you going to do about it? You see what I'm saying? So I understand if we were making this argument hundreds of years ago, before America had enacted its gun laws and everybody had one, you could maybe make the idea, you could maybe make the case it would be a sensible idea to get rid of them. But the ship's already sailed. You can't do it. So just off the top of my head, I can give you 3 things that we could do that would work. You spend, it would probably only cost a few $1 billion as well, and we've just sent 40 to Ukraine. You could spend money making sure there's only one egress and what's the other word? Ingress and egress. You can make sure there's only one entrance and exit. I'm just using fucking military terminology there. You can make sure there's only one entrance and exit to a school. You can put a metal detector on it, and you can, I don't know, get 2 coppers to fucking man it. Easy. Is that going to cost more than $40 billion? We've just sent that to fucking Ukraine on a whim. So you can do that. Secondly, and this is a big one, you can reopen the mental institutions. In America, apparently, I didn't know this until yesterday, there isn't actually any mental institutions anymore. Reagan closed them all. In England, if you're completely off your tits, like Adam Lanza or this kid, completely off the tits, like demonstrably off their fucking tits, mad as a box of frogs. Parents are ringing the police going, he's off his tits. And they're like, yeah, bring back the mental institute, section the cunts. If this bloke is completely off his box, section him, lock him up. All the mashed banana you can eat. Lovely. So there's 2 things you can do that would work. And then thirdly, I'll meet the left halfway and say that, yeah, I understand maybe for moving forward, make it so you have to get some form of background check. So if you're a fucking felon, you're not allowed one. But I don't think any right-wingers would be against that position. Right-wingers aren't insane. They're not saying everyone should have a gun. Oh, what about him? He's as mad as a box of frogs. Yeah, give him an AK. Nobody's saying that. And I don't think any right-wingers say that. It's straw manning from the left to claim that they're all insane. So basic common sense gun controls, changing the infrastructure in and around the schools, and then having police officers purposely, 2 coppers, it's fuck all, on duty in these places where are gun-free zones. There's a plan you can put into place, and it wouldn't be that much more expensive than, I don't know, sending $40 billion to Ukraine on a fucking whim. So there's loads of things you can do. What you definitely can't do is take everybody's guns off them. It's physically impossible, and it'd be pointless to try, and you'd just cause, well, wide-scale public order, civil unrest, tens of thousands of dead civilians who were unwilling to hand the guns over, and dead coppers who were trying to, the poor bastards who the government had sent to pick them up. Can you imagine if they literally sent coppers around people's houses? A lot of people would just go, you know what? It's not a hill I'm willing to die on here. Just have my gun. But seriously, there's a couple of million Americans who are so stubborn, they wouldn't hand them over. Coppers turn up on your doorstep and say, right, you've got 24 hours to hand all your guns in. They just go, come on then, fuck it. Fuck it. Let's vittle each other up and see how I get on. So it's impossible. It's like I keep saying about them, it's positing an alternative reality. This is what the woke do. They're happy to just live in a fantasy land. And there was another girl on that thing that caught my eye because she said the exact same type of shit that I come out with. Logical. When I was saying, like, of course we're designed to absorb violence. We're an evolved chimp. We're a warlike species. We've lived in misery and fucking violence for hundreds of thousands of years. There was another lass who said something good. I want to see if I can find it because it made me laugh. Yeah, there it is. Sensible Irish girl. It says, we quite literally evolved during times and situations where the violence, loss, grief and danger we encountered was far more common than it is in well-off first world nations today. Platitude, but ultimately meaningless. And she's getting all the hate as well. So I was like, yeah, this post is logical and therefore upsetting to wet lefties. You should delete it and live in an insane fantasy land instead. It's because it's mad, isn't it? It's like, I don't think what I said or what she said there is offensive at all. You just say to them, like, listen, you have to get a grip. You have to get a grip and live in the real world. You can't just be enthralled to your feelings all the time. I don't even think I'm being mean. I think I'm trying to be helpful. So you can't live in thrall to your emotions all the time. Bad things happen. Someone who follows the channel commented on it, saying, oh, I worry so much about this stuff. I was like, you can't. Everything's dangerous. Smoking kills you. Drinking kills you. Eating fatty foods kills you. Flying on Spain could kill you. Getting in a car could kill you. The statistics, car journeys are more dangerous than plane journeys. Motorbikes are unbelievable. I think I've seen the stats on Elon Musk's Twitter the other day. You're like 250 times more likely to die on a motorcycle than in a plane. Ferries, you're 3 times more likely to die than in a car. Real life's dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. You've just got to get used to it. You can't live in thrall to your emotions. And again, those of us in the center and on the right seem to understand that, right? Life's precious. You should enjoy it, and you fucking die. But you can't live your life worrying all the time. And these people, well, Galgay, I can't even attempt to speak Gaelic. She gets it, and she's not even having a pop at them. She's just saying, what you're saying, Minjin, is total bollocks. Not designed to process loss and grief. Yeah, we are. We are perfectly designed to process loss and grief. Fuck me. If you're lucky, and this wouldn't have happened hundreds of years ago, you live long enough to bury your mum, your dad, both your granddads, both your grandmas. You might even know your great-grandparents. Bury the fucking lot of them, if you're lucky. Is that not sad? Burying your mother? I've done it. Pretty sad. Burying your friends, burying your family members. Of course we're designed to process loss, you fucking wet loser. Get a grip. People are pathetic. And again, I'm not being nasty. She's not being nasty. She's saying what you're saying is factually fucking wrong. Do you know how tough we are? I make this point a lot. And again, I'm not a motivational speaker. I leave that to people like Chris Raw, but we can handle any fucking thing. We are nails because it's a gift of our forebears who struggled constantly. Even my great-great-grandfather, it's not that far ahead, struggled mightily. The world was hard. They used to toil. The 5-day working week's relatively new. Back in the day, it was 6. They're like 6 12-hour shifts in a fucking coal mine. And these people are like, oh, we're not meant to deal with hardship. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. We're nails. I can deal with anything. My entire family and everyone I know could all drown in a fucking yachting accident if they did a secret party for my 43rd birthday and everyone I've ever liked was on a big yacht and then it fucking got hit by Klaus Schwab found out about it and called in an orbital strike and wiped them all off the face of the earth. I'd get through it. I'd be a bit upset for a while, but I'd get through it. I'd take a week off to grieve in private, by the way, and cry in front of people. I think I have a total weirdo. Laughing makes me cough now. It's weird. But then I'd dust myself off, get back on the treadmill, and come up with my grand plan to enact grisly revenge on Klaus fucking Schwab. It wouldn't unman me. Humans are meant to deal with trauma. It's what we've always done. Both my granddads fought in the Second World War. It's easier than the shit we had to do. Afghanistan and Iraq compared to the Second World War, people said it was harder in some respects because you had to go through that quick mobilization in your brain, i.e., you had to turn up, fight the enemy, and then 12 hours later, you put your beret on, take your helmet off, and then you go out and give water to women and kids. But it's harder because it's more hard to determine who the enemy is. So that's the nature of coin operations, guerrilla warfare, basically. But it was nowhere near as difficult as fucking D-Day, because look at the casualty statistics. In 20 odd years in the war on terror, I think between us and the Americans, we only lost about, well, what did we lose? 10,000 people, if that. The casualty statistics were nothing. Over a 25-year, I mean, Vietnam, Americans lost, I know the numbers, 66,000 men in Vietnam. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, it's not even remotely similar. Yeah, imagine that, fighting the Japanese. Fucking hell, those guys were hardcore. So like I've always said, I don't think I'm a tough guy. Tougher than most, but that's only because 90% of the world's soft as shite. I don't think I'm a tough guy. My granddad had fucking folded me in half. Life was tough. Every 10 years, it's got easier and easier since about the 19th century. And humans are made to suck up trauma and conflict like a sponge. And just because these fucking whiny wet losers don't know any history, which is also the reason they support communist ideology, doesn't make it true. No more than it makes a man being a woman true, or any of the other mutually exclusive, contradictory positions. They're just wrong. They're just wrong, right? I implore those who compare choice in guns against choice in abortion to watch this, see if it awakens you. Maybe later. But yeah, just staggers me how fucking ignorant these people are. Right, let's do some actual news. There was one I wanted to talk about. Why did I like it? Let me have a look. Oh yeah, that was it. It was because it was yet another example of Bootneck's law. If there's any questions in the BBC, you can always just put no as the response. You can even do it with this one, even though it makes for a clumsy response. You can even do it with this one, can't you? What if we all stopped flying? What if we all stopped flying? Nah, you're all right. I'll take a pass on that. Nah. Because, first of all, when they say we, they don't mean we. You know that, don't you? When a middle-class arsehole whose holidays in the south of France, because they're much more civilized in the south of France. Oh, God, the people in England are disgusting, and they go to the bars and they drink too much alcohol. And they gamble and they eat peanuts. These are the people who go on holiday to the south of France, where people are much more refined and civilized. Oh, yeah. Self-loathing, cringing, wet lefties who hate their own flag and hate their own culture. They hate their own hate themselves. You have to pity these people. So I was telling Paz yesterday, you have to pity these people because Paz made a video about them flying the flags in London. They're all crying about it. It's like, it's human nature to want to be proud of your family and yourself, because being proud of your flag and your country means you're proud of your forebears, the people that created it. So it doesn't matter. I told you guys I was out on the piss in America once with a bloke from like Venezuela or somewhere. And he was like, oh, proud to be Venezuelan. Yeah, because it's human nature to be proud of where you're from. Britain has a more glorious history than most, but it doesn't mean people from like Zambia are proud of being Zambian. It's human nature. And for that reason, you have to pity these people, because normal people, whether they're Argentinian or Zulus, A to Z, it was clumsily trying to make the point there. They're proud of the country and the flag, and they like where they come from because the forebears made it for them. So you have to pity the wet lefties in the West. They hate their own country. If you hate your own country, you hate your own relatives. And if you hate your own relatives, you hate yourself, don't you? If you hate your own flag, you hate your forebears. And if you hate your grandmother and your grandfather and your parents, well, you hate yourself too. You think you're evil. You think, oh, the Apache were fantastic, but my people, oh, I just wish I could be more like them. So you're a pathetic loser and you hate yourself. And I pity you. I really do pity you. That makes two of us online killer. I think most people would rather be in Middlesbrough than France. Most people would pay attention anyway. So let's click on this one. What if we are you? What if you stop flying? Aeroplanes are incredibly polluting, but could we ever live without them? Aviation has long been a pain in the neck for those working to cut human greenhouse gas emissions. It's the pinnacle of hard to decarbonise, energy intensive, lacking in technical options to make it lower carbon, and strongly associated with the lifestyles of the richest and most powerful in society, who will continue to bastard fly when you're not allowed to take the kids to Spain once a year. You stupid woke wanker. It's also become one of the fastest growing sectors emissions wide. It grew 30% between 2013 and 2019. The pandemic stopped this trend in its tracks and emissions plummeted by 60% in 2020. Yeah. And fucked the world up, didn't it? In other ways. What's the point in dragging emissions down when everything else goes to shit? All the kids commit suicide. Everyone's taking pills. All the spouses are getting battered. Everyone's lost their jobs. Everyone's fucking chronically depressed. People are taking loads of pills and drinking loads of booze. I even read that mass shootings have gone up by like 80% or something since lockdown started because you've drove people mad. So what's the point in plummeting emissions? A nebula, still not 100% accurate, something that we need to worry about because technology will probably fix the issue before we all drown. What's the point in fucking up the entire world just to cut emissions? Think about it. It's like you've got a splinter in your finger, so you cut your fucking arm off. I'm more worried about immediate things like mass suicides, gun deaths, addiction and misery than I am by possibility that in 2050, some of the world's going to be underwater. I'm not a climate denier. I've always been a believer that, again, I'm in the middle. I think it probably does something, but human ingenuity, as always, will win the day. Every time in our history we've had a problem, we've managed to come up with a technical solution for it. And AOC and the like are scaremongers, doomsayers. Didn't Al Gore say the world was going to end in like 2050 or 2020? Every time they say it, they get proved wrong. So I'm not a climate denier. Again, I've pointed out, if you try to gas yourself with an Austin Allegro in the 1980s, you stick the hose pipe in the fucking exhaust, stick it through your window and sit in your garage with the engine on. 20 minutes later, you're brown bread. So it must do something, right? It must do something. But guess what? I read a paper last year that said now people are failing the suicide attempts with cars because modern cars with catalytic converters are so economical and so good that silly bastards try and gas themselves and they just end up with a severe headache. And that, in my typically direct way, is basically proving what I'm saying about humanity coming out with technological advancements to fix these problems before they become a massive problem. Is that not a reasonable thing to say? I think humanity will adapt to the problems facing us. I don't deny the science that obviously some emissions have a harmful effect because, as I said, they would kill you. Back in the 80s, they would. But we've made so many changes that now it's hard to do it. So why is it not going to affect the planet less as well? I mean, that sounds like a bit mad on the face of it. But think of it logically, like we're all related on the tree of life. So typically a bear can get cancer, a monkey can get diabetic, right? It's the same with the planet. It's an ecosystem that we are part of. If a car spewing out emissions would kill you in 5 minutes in 1980, but it won't kill you at all in 2022, then that's going to massively help the planet as well, isn't it? It's a living ecosystem that's not being as impacted as aggressively because of human technology. I've got a link for that. I'll have to find it for you. If you just Google it, I'm sure you can find it. I mean, let's have a quick look just for Blue Van Man. Typed in harder to kill yourself with a modern car. The first thing that came up, suicide prevention line. Google thinks I'm going to top myself now. Medical principles and practice suicidal carbon monoxide poisoning using motor vehicle exhaust in an open space. Basically, it's much harder. Yeah, you'll have to have a look when I'm not on a stream. If I find something good, I'll send you it. But it's a logical thing, isn't it? Humans will come up with a solution. You know, like on Highlander, where the world's going to end, and then he comes up with some Gucci fucking thing that remakes the ozone layer. We'll come up with something. I hope we'll come up with something. The idea that this is a logical fucking thing. What I'm saying here, it's not irrational and it's not climate denial. It's saying, yeah, it's probably a problem, but I'm confident we'll fix it. Versus beggaring ourselves while the Chinese and the Indians build coal power plants is insanity. It's insanity because if the whole of Europe went to walking everywhere and banned flights, the emissions are still going to go up next year and the year after that. So it's the definition of insanity. Just like the lockdown had ramifications, i.e. possibly it slowed COVID down a little bit, but it made people fat and unhealthy and depressed and suicidal and addicted. So is my response to the green lobby. All of the ramifications from forcing people to change their lifestyles will kill millions of people. It'll make millions of people miserable. It'll wreck the economy. It'll cause global widespread famine and deprivation and distress. So fuck it. Fuck it. I mean, I've shot my bolt. I'm basically done. I think that's a nice, reasonable position to be in. I'm not a climate denier, but it might not kill us because we'll come up with a solution. But if we try and do this Green New Deal bollocks, it will kill millions and millions of people, and it'll make hundreds of millions of people fucking miserable. So I don't care. Simple. Simple. We're living in crazy fucking times. So yeah, that's bollocks. I'm not doing it. Yeah, a world without flights would create some serious logistical challenges, but so that's why I'm not doing it. Cheers. And then finally, I mean, I'll do this one briefly before I bugger off, because Paz made a video about it. Ricky Gervais defends his taboo comedy. Again, all I'll say about this is, right, I've been a fan of Ricky Gervais for 20 years. I used to love his Kiss FM radio show because, you know, he's getting on now. Me and my wife listened to that in our car for years with Carl Pilkey. It was hilarious. So I know all of his politics, and I know for a fact Ricky Gervais is quite a wet lefty. He's definitely pro-LGBT. He's a bit of a hippie. He's always going on about animal rights. The man isn't even right-wing. So instead of making this more complicated than it needs to be for an audience that I know already agrees with me, I'll simply say, you can joke about whatever you want. Everybody knows that Count Dankula isn't and wasn't a Nazi because he turned his pug into a Nazi. I can joke about anything I like. Cancer, dead babies. There's jokes about that, right? I've told you. But telling a joke doesn't mean you agree with it. So it's that simple. It's a joke. He is pro-LGBT, so if he wants to make jokes about it, nobody with any brains cares. There's one, right? What's 10 inches long, purple and veiny, and makes a woman's eyes water for a month? Stillborn baby. There you go. Not particularly funny. Somewhat crass. Obviously, supposed to make you think of a penis. You didn't get it. Telling that joke doesn't mean that I'm pro dead baby, right? I mean, I can't make it any more simplistic than that. Or what about the rape ones? There's loads of them. Like, I'll come home from work. My wife said, I want to try something new in the bedroom. Is there anything you fancy? And I said to her, yeah, I've always wanted to try a rape fantasy out. And she said, that's ridiculous. Get away from me, you freak. And I went, that's the spirit, you dirty bitch. Doesn't mean I'm pro-rape. There's two. I've run out of jokes. It's absurd. It's absurd. I don't like dead babies. As if you have to say that. And I'm not pro-rape. The jokes. Ricky Gervais has lived his entire life being pro-LGBTQ plus fucking I. His whole life. He's never ever been accused of being a transphobe. He isn't. He can joke about whatever he wants. And if he makes a joke about Middlesbrough and says everybody in Middlesbrough's a toothless, one-eyed fucking mutant, nobody would go, oh my God, therefore he despises everybody from Middlesbrough and he wants to gas them all. No, he doesn't. It's just a joke. Normal people get it. So, frankly, I think I'm giving this more time than it deserves. All right? I like to think I made the point nice and succinctly with the dead baby and the rape jokes. All right? Easy. Oh, Blue Van Man's even worse than me. What a villain. He's got a collection of them. Right, bugger this. I'm finished. I'm still coughing me fucking ring up. I think I'll be here tomorrow. I'm going to the mother-in-law's tomorrow, but probably not till the evening. I'll keep you informed on the community tab. Although I will say, because Susan, because she doesn't show anybody my community tab anymore, I should probably point you at some other links, because when I'm over in Blighty, I'll have to use other means to get to stay in touch with everybody. So let me just find a link for this. Reddit's a pain up the arse. I do put my videos on there every day, but it's not the best. As if it seems like they're stashing me on Reddit as well. You type in Angry Bootneck Reddit, it still doesn't come up. A bit fucked up, isn't it? Bastards. Anyway, hopefully that works. It says it's the user, but I'm hoping it'll pop up. Let's have a look. There's my Reddit. What else have I got? I did start an Instagram as well, because that's the easiest one to do when you're on your phone. I know that makes me sound like a spotty teenager, but I've never really bothered with Instagram. Hence the reason I've only got one follower. But how do you get a fucking link for your Instagram account? Here we are. There's my Instagram. I'll probably use that when I'm on my phone in the UK. And as for the antagonistic biscuit, I do keep forgetting about him. Ever since Susan moderately climbed off my plums, I've sort of forgot about him. But I'll have to do it. Anyway, so that's that. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Don't cry about your fucking... don't cry about gun crime. There's nothing you can do about it. Live your life. Enjoy it. Who cares? And try Grindr. I think not. Okay, thanks for watching, ladies and gents. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Toodle fucking pip. Keep your chins up.